Good morning, Clark Middle School. It's Mrs. Vickers, and it's SEL time again. I love these days because learning about our social and emotional well-being is so important. Remember those surveys I ask you to participate in at least once or twice a year? One thing I always ask is, what would you like to see or discuss during an SEL lesson? The most requested topic is mental health. We do address it when we talk about anxiety and coping strategies, but from the feedback, I understand you want it to be a little broader. It's so important to me that I address what is important to you. I recognize this topic can be sensitive and even a little uncomfortable for people to talk about, which made me realize that's exactly why we should talk more about it. Discussing your mental health should be as common and comfortable as discussing a headache and how to help you feel better. We don't hesitate to tell someone if we had to see a physical therapist for a knee injury. The same should be for if we need to see a therapist if we're struggling with feeling really anxious or are sad a lot and need extra support to help get through it. So today we're going to talk about mental health. It will be an introduction, and we won't go in depth about all the types of mental health illnesses because we don't have a lot of time today, but we will go over how to identify mental health issues and reduce the stigma, differentiate types of healthy coping skills, and learn about emotional intelligence and how to find resources if you or a friend needs extra support. We all have different experiences with how comfortable we are with discussing mental health, so today you'll be watching and listening to me mostly. Your teachers will give you a page similar to the one I gave you during our personal safety talk last week. So take a deep breath, doodle or draw if you like, and just relax while you learn about making healthy choices to keep your bodies and brains safe and healthy. And hopefully each time we discuss mental health, it breaks down the stigma even more, and everyone will feel comfortable discussing their own mental health needs and seeking help when they need extra support. I would love to hear your feedback about today's lesson. Don't hesitate to email me, send me a private Google Classroom message, or come and tell me your thoughts about this lesson and or your suggestions for future lessons. So I hope you enjoy today's lesson, and this is the first time I've recorded it like this, so please bear with me, and hopefully everything goes smoothly. So we are going to move along here. What do you think of when you hear the term mental health? Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Our mental health affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices which can affect our personal safety or the safety of those around us. You may also hear it called emotional health or behavioral health because the health of our brain affects our emotions and our behavior or how we act. Our brain chemistry affects our feelings and how we behave and interact with others in our family, at school, and in our community. Let's watch a video that talks more about mental health.
Have you ever broken a bone? What did you do? You went to the doctor to get an x-ray, and they put your arm in a cast. Breaking a bone is common, and nobody told you to just snap out of it, as if you could control whether or not it was broken. How about when you are sick with a fever? You go to the doctor and they prescribe you medicine that makes you feel better. No matter how hard you try, you can't use the power of the mind to mend bones or cure sickness. Everybody knows that. But there are some illnesses that you cannot see. Mental illnesses. Illnesses in the brain. No different from a broken arm or a sore throat, other than the fact that they cannot be seen because they are inside your head. Like a dysfunctioning traffic light turning the wrong color and messing up traffic, mental illnesses are caused by chemical imbalances in the brain causing certain signals to be disrupted. A common example of mental illness is depression, which is when someone feels sad almost all of the time, even if they are in a happy environment. And another example is anxiety, which is when someone feels nervous or scared, even in the calmest of situations. They aren't choosing to feel this way. In fact, they can't control it any more than you could control having a sore throat. And to fix it, they need to go to the doctor too. One in four people will suffer from a mental illness in their lifetime. The other 3 will have a friend or family member who will. This affects everyone. Just because someone has a mental illness does not mean they are different. They just need to reach out and ask for some help. The bravest person can suffer from anxiety, and the happiest person can suffer from depression. Support friends with mental illness the same way in which you would support a friend with a broken arm. And if you think you have a mental illness, do not be afraid to go to the doctor or talk to a parent. You are not weak, it is not your fault, and you are not alone. There are people all around you with mental illnesses living normal lives. By talking about mental illness and supporting each other, we can heal minds as easily as we heal bones.
As we saw in the video, mental health problems are common. You may hear people use the term mental health illness, disorder, issues, or problems. They all mean basically the same thing. Over the course of your life, you may experience mental health issues and your thinking, mood, and behavior could be affected. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescent through adulthood. There are many factors that contribute to mental health issues. And as we discuss these, I want you to just think about them. Biological factors such as genes or brain chemistry. Life experiences such as trauma or abuse. Family history of mental health problems. People with mental health problems or concerns can learn ways to cope and get better, and many people recover completely. A mental health condition isn't your fault or your family's fault. These conditions develop for complicated reasons, and we often don't know why. What do we know, however, is that you have the power to improve your mental health. In life, things don't always go our way, and bad things can happen. It's normal to get upset or sad about those times. But if you feel that you or one of your friends isn't able to deal with something in a healthy way, or if you aren't able to recover from stressful situations in a timely manner, it might mean there's something more serious going on. Remember, mental health issues are common. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience a mental illness or problem during their lifetime. 1 in 25 people live with a serious mental illness. And nearly 20,000 of youth ages 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder or illness. This is not something to be ashamed of, but it should be recognized so you can work to improve it. That's why we're learning about it today. Feeling worried and sad are normal at times for all of us. In fact, anxiety and depression are the most common mental health problems. However, anxiety and sadness can become problematic if they are severe or ongoing. So let's talk about the difference between normal feelings of anxiety and sadness and the mental health problems of anxiety and depression. Anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an upcoming event or something with an uncertain outcome. For example, how many of you have felt anxious about taking a test? I know I have. Consider these scenarios and if they would cause you anxiety or not. Your parents tell you that your dad has a new job and you'll be moving to a new town and school next month. You post a pic on social media and only get a few likes. Your neighbor comes over to show you her new puppy. Your parents tell you that you have to babysit your brother on Saturday, so you can't go to a friend's party. Or you have to stand up in front of the class to give an oral presentation or speech. Stress affects everyone differently, so there are no right or wrong answers here. We're just working on recognizing what types of things cause us stress or anxiety. This will help us later when we learn ways to manage our stress and anxiety. Anxiety is normal for all of us. In fact, 25% of teens ages 13 to 18 experience anxiety. However, it becomes a problem when you're unable to carry on with regular activities. If it gets worse or won't go away, or if it's accompanied by other concerning behaviors such as panic attacks, which may involve sweating, fear, difficulty breathing, and more. Let's watch a video called Fight, Flight, Freeze about why we feel anxiety.
You know what anxiety feels like. We all do. Everyone experiences anxiety in some way or another. It's something that connects all of us together. Why we feel anxiety and what it really is? That may surprise you. Without anxiety, we'd all be in serious trouble. As soon as your brain senses you're in danger, a little piece of it, called the amygdala, kicks in. It gets your body ready to react. That could mean fight, run away, or shut down. It's called the fight, flight, or freeze response. This reaction goes back millions of years to our distant animal ancestors. Animals whose amygdalae were more sensitive to danger were more likely to stay alive and off the menu. Over millions of generations, this developed into the system we all know as anxiety. So you see, anxiety itself is not all bad. But when there's no immediate life or death threat, and your amygdala keeps telling your body that you're in danger, that's when anxiety becomes a problem. Your amygdala doesn't know the difference between getting eaten and public speaking or failing a test. Human society has only existed for a relatively short time. It's messy and complicated and confusing, and our amygdalae just haven't had time to catch up. So sometimes, when we're in uncomfortable situations, our brains misread the risk and overreact. Our hearts beat faster and we breathe heavily, pulling more oxygen into our bodies. The muscles in our arms and legs tense up and fill with blood. Our skin perspires to cool us down. This would all be great if we needed to fight or run, but instead, we just feel tense and sweaty. Sometimes our minds go blank and we feel like we can't move or talk. That would be great if we needed to hide. Instead, we just feel stuck. When things trigger our anxiety, sometimes we try to avoid them, like our ancestors avoiding a predator. But that can cause problems when those triggers are important parts of life, like going to school or meeting new people, things that won't just give up and go away. So how does knowing all this help? Well, it starts with remembering what's really going on. There's nothing physically wrong with you. It's just your amygdala trying to tell you it thinks you're in danger, even if it gets confused about how much danger you're really in. Understanding why we feel anxiety is an important step in learning to manage it.
Another factor that has caused anxiety to increase in teens is social media. Social media and how you respond to it can affect the reward center of a teen's brain. Think about that. There's a feeling of rejection, acceptance, or belonging that comes through participating in social media, and it can have a positive or negative effect on your mood and self-esteem. If your post or picture gets a lot of likes, how does it make you feel? Social media can cause higher rates of mental health disorders such as anxiety and depression, decreased self-esteem. The appearance that everything posted on social media is perfect sets unrealistic expectation for what's really happening in people's lives. And if someone doesn't receive likes, it makes them feel unliked or rejected when that may not be the case at all. The fear of missing out. This can lower a teen's mood, decrease self-esteem, and decrease their satisfaction in everyday activities. Lack of restful sleep. Teens need at least 7 hours of restful sleep a night. The irritability, and a decreased ability to focus. Too much screen time can overstimulate the nervous system, influencing mood, behavior, and focus. Increased competitiveness. Following someone's social media status that you think of as a competitor, physically or mentally, may affect you. Cyberbullying. Remember our lessons on bullying where we discussed cyberbullying and its harmful effects at length? So as you see, there are many ways social media can affect our mental well-being and health. Have you ever had a sore throat? Of course we have. What did you have to do? Maybe you went to the doctor. Maybe you had to get a strep test. Maybe you took some medicine. Most of you know there's an easy test the doctor does to swab your throat to see if you have strep throat. And when it comes to mental illness, there's no easy test that can let someone know if they have a mental illness or if their thoughts and feelings are simply a response to a stressful situation, or even caused by a physical illness. Mental illness is often diagnosed by professionals working with an individual to examine their feelings, experience, and symptoms over a period of time. Anxiety and depression are the most common mental health problems among teens. But remember spotting red flags? It can also help us recognize signs of other mental health problems, such as feeling sad or withdrawing from social activities for more than maybe 2 weeks. Sudden overwhelming fear for no reason. Severe mood swings, drastic changes in behavior, personality, or sleeping habits. Extreme out of control or risk-taking behaviors, repeated use of drugs or alcohol are all red flags that help us recognize signs of that may be a problem. Why don't people seek help for mental illness? Well, 1 in 5 U.S. youth aged 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. But of those teens and young adults that have a mental health disorder, only about half of them receive treatment. Why don't they seek help? Well, sometimes they think the problem isn't that bad, or they think they can handle it themselves. They don't want to talk to a stranger about their problems. They don't think it can help. They don't have access to a mental health provider, or have health insurance or money to pay for therapy, or maybe they think it's their fault. One of the main reasons people often hide mental health issues is because of the stigma associated with it, seeing mental illness as a fault. Stigma is defined as a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person, but we know better now. And when we know better, we do better. Let's watch a video about breaking the stigma about mental health.
You know that feeling where your thoughts scare you or make life tough? Sometimes it feels like no one else in the world has those thoughts or feelings. No one seems to know how difficult it is to deal with your feelings. And it's not easy to share your deepest secrets. You might think something is wrong with you. Or you might worry what other people think. And all of that makes your thoughts and feelings worse. Our culture has created this environment of shame. Until the 1960s, society sent people away if they had challenges managing their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Over time, we learned that we didn't have to be afraid. We learned how to help people get better. We became hopeful. But there are remnants of those images in our culture today, which is why some people still feel uncomfortable talking about it. The stigma has taken new forms too. With more access to more people all the time, it can seem like the world is telling us it's not okay to be anything but perfect. The truth is, everyone has thoughts or feelings that can be hard to deal with. So why do we make it so difficult on ourselves by judging others who could be going through the same challenges we are? What if, instead of seeing labels, we saw people who are struggling and could be there for them so they didn't feel so alone? What if we looked past our fear of mental health and started to talk about it in a constructive way? What if, as a society, we used empowering words and healthy images to help people feel supported? Maybe then, more of us could feel comfortable telling others when we're having a hard time. Maybe more people would get the help they need. And maybe one day we won't have to talk separately about mental health and physical health, but just health. The truth is, each of us has the power to change our culture. Will you join us? Share this video with a kid, your neighbor, a friend, and help us break the stigma of mental health. You know that feeling?
The video asked a lot of what-if questions, but one question I'd like to ask you to think about now is, what is one thing you can do to reduce the stigma and make the focus on mental health a priority? I hope going forward that everyone helps to break the stigma associated with mental illness, because we all need to remember, no blame, no shame. It's a reminder for us that mental illness is not someone's fault, and it is always okay to ask for help and support. In our discussion of mental health disorders, we talked about how common they are and the fact that we all experience stress and anxiety. Now let's focus on how to do better to manage our emotional and behavioral health so we can achieve mental wellness. Why is mental health and wellness, or well-being, important? Positive mental health helps you to realize your full potential and meet the goals that you have. Cope with stressful situations in life. Be self-motivated. Be productive at school and home, and make meaningful contributions to your community, including friends, family, school, sports, clubs, and other activities. What are some things we can do to help better our mental health? Connecting with others, having healthy and positive relationships with friends and safe adults, having a positive attitude, being physically active, being kind and helping others, getting enough sleep, developing positive coping skills to deal with stress, and getting professional help if you need it, which could include therapy and/or medication. Let's talk about how we can better identify and acknowledge our feelings. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Emotional intelligence helps you build stronger relationships, succeed at school, and achieve your goals. It can also help you to connect with your feelings, turn intention into action, and help you make informed decisions about what matters most to you. With emotional intelligence, when someone asks you how you are, you can be honest and describe your feelings. Let's take a look at the mood map on this slide. Look at the range of feelings and emotions described here. This is just a sampling of emotions that we can experience. If you notice, negative feelings are on this side and positive feelings are on this side. How are you feeling today? And as up higher are the higher intensity feelings and emotions. And on the bottom are the lower intensity feelings and emotions. Using the mood map, think about how you might feel in response to the statements I'm reading out loud. You just found out you got an A on a math test you thought you failed. How would you feel on the mood map? One of your best friends seems to be drifting away and is leaving your messages unread. Your mom started a new job and she hasn't come to your games or picked you up from school on time for the past 2 weeks. Your pet just crawled up into your lap looking for some cuddle time. You can't seem to find the right thing to wear to an event. Nothing looks good. Your brother or sister won't stop talking while you're trying to concentrate on something. Did the mood map help you describe your feelings in more detail? Identifying and acknowledging our feelings is a skill we have to practice, but being more connected with your feelings can make it easier for you to share them with others, which can also help you cope better and ask for help when needed. Let's talk about coping skills. What does it mean to cope with something? Cope is a verb that means to deal with or handle a situation or feeling. Usually, when we talk about coping with something, it is referring to something difficult. No matter how mentally healthy, resilient, or happy we are, every one of us goes through times when we need to cope with something difficult. Coping with stress and challenges is something we all do, and each of you already have some of your own coping skills. What are coping skills? Coping skills are ways to deal with stress and problems. Some of the ways we cope are healthy, while others are ways to avoid dealing with a problem or potentially harmful or destructive. Using positive coping skills will help improve your mental and emotional health and build resilience. What is resilience? It's the ability to recover from difficulties, to overcome a crisis. It's being able to bounce back from a mistake or a setback and learn how to grow from it. Resilience is something you can build over time by using coping skills, practicing self-care, and nurturing positive experiences in relationships. On the next few slides, we're going to talk about some different types of coping skills. I'm going to define each of the types of coping skills and provide a few examples. The first type of coping skill we're going to talk about is diversion skills. These are things you do to take your mind off a stressful situation for a while, to give yourself time to sort it out. Some examples would include painting, drawing, or writing, playing an instrument, singing or dancing, taking a shower or bath, walking or going for a ride or a drive, playing a game, going shopping, cleaning or organizing your room, reading a book, watching TV, a movie, or YouTube videos. Another type of coping skill is having positive social and interpersonal skills, which means connecting with or disconnecting from people and situations. Some examples of this would include talking with someone you trust to vent and clear your mind, setting boundaries and saying no, writing a note to someone you care about, being assertive, using humor, spending time with your people, family and friends, helping someone else, serving someone in need or encouraging others, spending time with your pet, or role-playing challenging situations with others. A third type of coping skill is a cognitive skill and involves using your mind to work through a problem. Have you heard the term mind over matter? That's when you work through a problem using your brain and thoughts. Some examples of this kind of coping skill would include making a gratitude list, brainstorming solutions, changing your expectations of a situation or person, journaling, keeping an inspirational quote with you, a personal mantra or affirmation, being flexible, writing a list of goals, acting in the opposite way of your negative feelings, writing a list of pros and cons for decisions, rewarding or pampering yourself when successful, writing a list of your strengths, accepting a challenge with a positive attitude. There are some other coping skills that can also be very beneficial. There are tension releasers, which are ways to de-stress and get out feelings of frustration, like exercising, playing sports, crying, laughing, singing or dancing. And in general, practicing good self-care and using positive physical coping skills will help you keep up your reserves so you can overcome stressful situations like getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, getting regular exercise, keeping a good routine or schedule, limiting caffeine or other stimulants, practicing deep, slow breathing. Do you notice how some of the activities under tension releasers and physical coping skills are similar or even overlap? These categories are very general and we don't need to worry about defining them, but we do need to understand that there are many ways to cope with stress and anxiety. Many people also rely on spiritual coping skills. Sometimes it makes a difference to think about something bigger than you and your situation. Examples include praying, meditating, enjoying nature, getting involved in a worthy cause, and volunteering to help others. And the last coping skill I want to talk about is learning to set limits or establishing healthy boundaries for you and your time. This might include things like ensuring your involvement with different activities is in balance. In other words, not overscheduling yourself. Prioritizing important tasks. Using assertive communication by being clear in what you say. Scheduling time for yourself and self-care. Walking away from unhealthy relationships or situations. Scheduling time away from digital devices and being online. What coping skills are you already using? What new coping skills did you identify that you would be willing to try in the future? Which coping skills didn't appeal to you or seem helpful? Think about which coping strategies that we talked about might be beneficial in these scenarios. There are no right or wrong answers, just what might help you with different situations. Like, what if yesterday when you sat down in English class, the teacher handed out a test? You completely forgot that there was a test scheduled and didn't study and have not finished the reading assignment. You're sure you failed the test. What would you do to help cope with this situation? What about scenario number 2? Kids that you've been great friends with for many years are suddenly now ignoring you. What would you do to help with that situation? And scenario number 3. You've always enjoyed sports in school, but in middle school there's homework every night, and the team practices and game schedule keeps you after school every day until past dinner time during the week and most of the day on Saturday. The pressure is overwhelming and you just want to quit everything. What would you do to help you cope? There are thousands of ways to cope, and we all use different activities or strategies depending on our interests and personalities, and as you probably learned from this activity, we all cope in different ways. A coping strategy that causes stress for one individual might help another person cope in a positive way with a stressful situation. So you have to learn what works best for you, and as you move through stressful situations, you may need to use more than one type of coping skill or strategy. It's important to know that we can all develop positive and healthy coping skills if we work at it. Every time you're able to overcome a stressful or challenging situation, you build better coping skills that will help strengthen your resilience and your mental and emotional health and wellness. What do you think it means to be more confident? Confidence is a belief in yourself, the conviction that you have the ability to meet life's challenges and to succeed, and the willingness to act accordingly. Being confident requires a realistic sense of your capabilities and feeling secure in that knowledge. Let's watch a video about how to help build confidence and self-esteem.
When faced with a big challenge where potential failure seems to lurk at every corner, maybe you've heard this advice before. Be more confident. And most likely, this is what you think when you hear it. If only it were that simple. But what is confidence? Take the belief that you are valuable, worthwhile, and capable, also known as self-esteem. Add in the optimism that comes when you are certain of your abilities. And then empowered by these, act courageously to face a challenge head on. This is confidence. It turns thoughts into action. So where does confidence even come from? There are several factors that impact confidence. 1, what you're born with, such as your genes, which will impact things like the balance of neurochemicals in your brain. 2, how you're treated. This includes the social pressures of your environment. And 3, the part you have control over, the choices you make, the risks you take, and how you think about and respond to challenges and setbacks. It isn't possible to completely untangle these 3 factors, but the personal choices we make certainly play a major role in confidence development. So, by keeping in mind a few practical tips, we do actually have the power to cultivate our own confidence. Tip 1, a quick fix. There are a few tricks that can give you an immediate confidence boost in the short term. Picture your success when you're beginning a difficult task. Something as simple as listening to music with deep bass. It can promote feelings of power. You can even strike a powerful pose or give yourself a pep talk. Tip 2, believe in your ability to improve. If you're looking for a long-term change, consider the way you think about your abilities and talents. Do you think they are fixed at birth, or that they can be developed, like a muscle? These beliefs matter because they can influence how you act when you're faced with setbacks. If you have a fixed mindset, meaning that you think your talents are locked in place, you might give up, assuming you've discovered something you're not very good at. But if you have a growth mindset and think your abilities can improve, A challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Neuroscience supports the growth mindset. The connections in your brain do get stronger and grow with study and practice. It also turns out, on average, people who have a growth mindset are more successful, getting better grades, and doing better in the face of challenges. Tip 3. Practice failure. Face it, you're going to fail sometimes. Everyone does. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 different publishers before one picked up Harry Potter. The Wright brothers built on history's failed attempts at flight, including some of their own, before designing a successful airplane. Studies show that those who fail regularly and keep trying anyway are better equipped to respond to challenges and setbacks in a constructive way. They learn how to try different strategies, ask others for advice, and persevere. So, think of a challenge you want to take on. Realize it's not going to be easy. Accept that you'll make mistakes, and be kind to yourself when you do. Give yourself a pep talk, stand up, and go for it. The excitement you'll feel, knowing that whatever the result, you'll have gained greater knowledge and understanding. This is confidence.
Take a second to think about something that you're really good at. Think about something that you can do now, but struggled with when you first tried. And also think about something you failed at and that you were able to overcome and move on from. Remember to practice observing your wins, not just your failures or missteps. And remember that failures allow us to learn a lot about ourselves and practice being resilient. As we learn to manage our mental health and wellness in positive ways, believing in ourselves and our capabilities and building our confidence and self-esteem is a big part of it. What about helping others who might be struggling? You can be an upstander when it comes to mental health as well as safety and help others who may be going through a tough time. But just as it's sometimes hard for us to admit our own feelings, it can be also difficult to start these conversations with a friend or a peer. So the first step to helping someone else is to be honest about your own feelings or concerns about talking about these things. If you're concerned about a friend, talk with them about what you've seen. Be factual and give examples about behavior changes you've noticed, such as missing practice, canceling plans, or a change in their mood. Remember, what we learned about kindness and empathy in our other lessons? Use those skills and focus on being non-judgmental, compassionate, and understanding. Use I statements instead of you comments to get the conversation started. Some examples. I'm worried about you. I've noticed you're sleeping more, eating less, etc. Is everything okay? I care about you, and I've noticed that you haven't been acting like yourself lately. It seems like you're going through a difficult time. Is there anything I can do to help? I want to make sure you're okay. It worries me to hear you're talking like this. Is there someone we can go to and talk about it? I'll go with you. In each of these statements, the person first showed care and concern, and then they asked an open-ended question to get them more information or offer support. There are no specific words that are right. You just have to start the conversation. If you suspect that a friend is dealing with these issues, talk with them and listen without judgment. Help them connect with a safe adult. You may be the difference in helping a friend who needs support but is too afraid to seek help. Sometimes you can make a huge difference in someone's life by just being there. The next thing to remember is if you or a friend need help, you're not alone. Even if you think people don't care, there are many people who do. Involve others who can provide support, like a safe adult or safe friend. Who can you think of that you might go to for help? If you ever need to, you can talk to them about what's going on and ask them to help you find support. Don't be afraid to seek professional help. Ask your parents to help you make an appointment with your primary care doctor or a mental health counselor. Support is essential for you and for others. You can play an important role in helping yourself and others build a positive, supportive network. As we finish up, let's review the 5 safety rules that we talked about last week, so you can remember them and how to use them to ensure your safety and support your mental health. Safety rule number 1, know what's up. Remember, help yourself or someone else with mental health issues. We have to understand they're common and acknowledge the issue. Number 2, spot red flags. If you see a red flag, recognize it and respond to it. Safety rule number 3, make a move. Use healthy coping skills and seek help when you need it or a friend may need it. Talk it up. Talk to a safe adult and access professional help and or resources when you or a friend needs support. And number 5, no blame, no shame. Just as with your physical safety, with your mental health and personal safety, always remember that it's not your fault and you should not be ashamed to ask for help. Only when we talk openly about mental health and mental health issues will we be able to truly help ourselves and others. Thank you so much for listening and especially for suggesting this important topic. If you have any questions or want to talk more about mental health, email me or sign up on the Visit with Mrs. Vickers form. Remember, you deserve to be physically and mentally safe and healthy. I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.